Travis, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. We can hear Heidi. And we can see Heidi now, too. Get started here. Mary's still trying to get on? Okay.
Hello, I am here now.
Okay, great. Wonderful. The gang's all here. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 meeting of the Moorhead Public Service Commission to order. Commissioner Heidi Durand will be participating in this meeting via interactive television from the address located at 3625 22nd Avenue South, Moorhead, Minnesota, 56560, which location is open and accessible to the public during the meeting. Commissioner Mary Daly will be participating in this meeting via interactive television from 718 Mound Avenue, Mankato, Minnesota, 56001, which location is open and accessible to the public during the meeting. The Moorhead Public Service Commission welcomes and encourages customer input on issues listed on the agenda or of general water, electric, utility interest, time and commission permitting. Speakers are limited to 3-minute presentations. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item will be afforded an opportunity during the discussion of that item. Customers wishing to speak on matters not listed on the agenda will be given the opportunity to do so under the heading Customers to be Heard and Recognitions. Each person requesting the opportunity to speak is asked to fill out a request to speak form located in the back of the room and present it to the administrative assistant in attendance at the meeting. Any follow-up or feedback will be done by email on anything that cannot be resolved that evening. I'd entertain I called the meeting in order. We have the election of officers. Let's start with the position of secretary. I'd entertain a motion or a nomination from the floor.
I can continue being secretary. That's fine.
Great.
I would nominate Sebastian.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
That's about it.
Aye.
Great. So we have the slate consisting of Sebastian as possible secretary. Vice chair, I entertain a nomination from the floor. Mary?
Well, through the crickets, I can do it again. That would be fine. I would be happy to serve.
Okay, we'll second that then. So now
I did not nominate myself.
I'll nominate Mary.
I'll second that nomination. And then that leaves the chairperson.
I would nominate Chris Thompson.
I'll second.
Great. So now we have a slate of officers. We have suggested Sebastian McDougall for secretary, Mary Daly as vice chairperson, and Christine Thompson as chairperson. Any discussion or further notice? Anybody want to jump in? Okay. I guess we need to take a vote. Let's do a roll call vote because Gilbertson?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
McDougall?
Aye.
Mary Daly?
Yes.
Chris Thompson, yes. So we have a slate of officers elected. Thank you very much for playing. All right. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. A motion
your
by
pick.
McDougall, seconded by Duran, to approve the meeting's agenda. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yep.
McDougall?
Aye.
Daly?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Duran, seconded by Daly, to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Gilbertson?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
McDougall?
Aye.
Daly?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, any customers to be heard or recognitions, Mr. Schmidt?
No customers to be heard. Just wanted to give a little bit of a note. We've had several promotions or changes in position over the past couple months since we approved the org structure. Kurt McLean is our IT division manager. Jerry Borman is our HR manager. Mark Moylanen is our finance manager. Jake Long is our water distribution manager. Mark Pritchard is our water plant manager. Taylor is changed from our electric distribution engineer to our project engineer with the leaving of Matt Marks. Who am I forgetting? Gina Loudon was our chemist. She's now our water plant lab supervisor. Eric John is our operations manager. He moved up from the distribution supervisor position. And finally, if I've got them all right, Mandy Savageau is going to take over as our records management coordinator starting March 1st.
Great.
So I think I covered everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss one, but we've done that. We have a couple of positions we're working on filling as well: chemist, water treatment plant operator, and we just went out for an admin assistant because Mandy's going to be taking over records management. So, and working on more and more to come.
Nice to see that we're able to put the org plan into works.
I did forget one. New Hong, I think is his name. He is our GIS technician. So he just started a couple weeks ago.
Great. Any old business? I think I got everything. No old business? Okay. Then we'll move on to reports. City Council, Mr. Gilbertson, do you have anything?
Nothing relative.
Okay. Public Service Commission, we've not had anything going on. Anybody been to any meetings? I don't think so.
I don't think they had a meeting.
General Manager's report, Mr. Schmidt.
Sure, I've got a lengthy report. I'll start off with that. We've got our 2022 fourth quarter strategic plan updates. Again, Commission approved our strategic directions in August of 2021. That's community, our team, water, electric, finance, and innovation. I'm not going to go over the details within the report. You can take a look at that. I did want to go over our summary basically in our matrix. You can see in there that we've got a bunch of green, yellow, and I'll say orange highlighted stuff from last year or the first year accomplishments. So we did get a lot completed. We have several items that are still ongoing. And the enhancement to customer portal, we kind of put a pause on that one until we get a little further into AMI. There are some tweaks that are being done to the portal, but no major changes. So that's going to really probably come into play once AMI is in place and we can look at a potential better portal at that point in time, along with some billing software updates that we're going to have to do for time of use rates if the commission wants to approve that as well too. Overall, 2022 was a pretty good year. Outages were down. A lot of them, again, weather or wildlife related. On the water side, our water chemical costs are back into normal range. Again, the water quality in the Red River was the cause of our increased costs from that as well too. And currently we are in a moderate drought, even though it's the middle of winter. So that'll be interesting to see what the flood forecast looks like here in the next couple weeks, especially with the snow we're supposed to get this week. Financially, electric was above budget by $800,000, so we did better than budget based on sales and operating costs. So that was a positive for that. On the water side, about $256,000 above. Again, better sales. It was, again, a little bit drier last year, so we probably had some water sales on that side, and then air conditioning load probably in the summer as well. Let's see, safety, we only had 2 injuries in 2022. I don't think we had any time lost because of it. So that was really good.
Yeah.
From the energy services perspective, we gave out about $138,500 in rebates that were paid out to either the colleges, commercial businesses, or residential as well too. So that comes to a savings of about 3 million kilowatt hours for 2022. I've also got some legislative updates in there. There's a lot of bills, a lot of things going on in the state of Minnesota currently. A lot of it regarding utilities as well. So take a look at that as you feel the need to. We did put the flood outlook in there. Again, this is a couple weeks old. 50% chance of hitting 24.8 feet. That doesn't include the precipitation we're going to get this week as well, too. Other thing I'm going to talk about, Tom Heller, CEO of Missouri River Energy Services, put in his retirement notification to the board in August of last year. And we did hire Matt Schul. He's from Electric Cities of North Carolina. Very similar organization, joint action agency compared to Missouri River. So he'll be a good addition. He'll be presented to the membership at the MRAS annual meeting in May, and then he'll take over right thereafter. And then Tom will finish out. He's done the end of June. So I want to thank Tom for his service, and again, welcoming Matt on board to Missouri River Energy Services. Other than that, Mark Moylan, I'll have him come up, speak about the audit and where we're at with that and how things are going.
Thank you, Travis, members of the commission. Mark Moylan, Finance Manager. Before you have the update on where we're at with the 2022 financial statement audit. Again, this is a pretty routine item. We're in the 4th year of a 5-year contract with Eide Bailly. They'll be completing the annual audit this year. This year we just have a standard audit on the financial statements. We did not receive any federal or state funding this year, so they're not subject to a special uniform guidance audit. On page 2 of the report, or I guess it's page 5 of the general manager's report, there's a number of bullet points. The first 3 are actually completed already. We've completed the closure of the financial system for the customer accounting system. The auditors have sent out all the confirmation letters, and they've sent out the bank loan and bond confirmations. All the reconciliations except for a work in progress has been completed. The majority of the information, about 95%, has been loaded onto Eide Bailly's secure portal, so they can begin doing some testing work. Their final review on on-site work will occur the 2nd week in March, so they'll be in our office doing some testing of customer accounts, verifying some things for audit, customer account billings. They'll be asking questions of management and just reviewing some other things. The final close of everything should occur the 1st week in April, and they will then work on the financial statements and audit. They present those, the formal financial statements, in the mid-April to May 1st timeframe, and the ultimate presentation will occur during the 2nd meeting in May, and that will be to the commission as a whole. So far everything is going very well. And as I indicated, about 95% of it has already been presented to them so they can start doing their testing.
This is, so do we go out and bid then after this year or after next year for another
Yes, that'll be
5-year?
Presented later this year. I believe we'll bring that up. They've actually done it as late as the 3rd or 4th quarter of the financial year that's going to be first affected, so it could be late fall in 2023 when we do it, or 24. But we do have 1 more year of coverage from them under the current contract.
Mark?
Thank you.
Let's see, last item. Again, just wanted to give you a brief update on the AMI meter, or automated meter infrastructure project. We're currently received proposals as of last Friday. So Jake and Kurt McLean are going to be visiting with Katama Technologies tomorrow, if I'm correct, and the kind of the updated timeline of where things are at with that project as well, too. And then with that, I will go over our energy emergency alert communication information, just to, again, remind everybody where we're at. All right, I'll give the presentation on this. You guys can ask some questions. Really it is the kind of understand the differences between Southwest Power Pool's energy emergency alert communication that they have, and then how we've changed that or adjusted that to fit more simplified communication process to our customers as well too. Overall, with the Southwest Power Pool, they've got basically 8 grid conditions that they utilize on a daily basis. And I'll go through those briefly, and then we'll kind of explain where we're at with our process. Again, a lot of this comes from the 2021 polar vortex where we had rolling blackouts in Moorhead. We did have another couple notifications right before Christmas due to some system issues that were going on as well. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of remind everybody where we're at with it. We've made it through most of the year, or the cold weather season so far, but wanted to make sure you guys understood and remember how this happens, and the timelines that we kind of get put under. So overall, normal operations. Again, this is systems in good shape. There's no problems, no foreseeable issues, and they just really want to make sure they have that noted as well too. Weather advisories. This again declares whether there's extreme weather events coming or in the area of the Southwest Power Pool. Now remember, the Southwest Power Pool runs basically from Canada all the way down to parts of Texas. And then really just that slot between Minnesota and Montana as well too. Resource advisories, again, this is where they're, uncertain, weather conditions, they got outages scheduled, wind forecasts, things like that. That's when they're going to put a resource advisory out as well too. So conservative operations advisories, again, this really comes into play where they're being cautious of what's going on with the system. They're taking procedures there that they follow to make sure that they're handling it appropriately as well too. Now, typically from normal operations to conservative advisory or operation advisory, we don't typically see any type of notification from SPP or Missouri River on that at all. So that's really day-to-day operations. They're watching everything, making sure it's going appropriately. Where it starts to get hairy and where we start to see the concerns is when we start seeing energy emergency alerts. And level 1 is the first one of that. Again, that's really where they start telling us to turn on generation or prepare to turn on generation. Of course, they're watching the forecast and they're concerned about what's coming down the pipeline, cold snap, heat snap, things like that are of concern, and want to make sure that everybody's paying attention to that and being ready to turn any generation that you can on if possible. Then you get an emergency energy alert 2. We saw that in December. Again, this was where we typically start our generation at our Centennial generating facility that we got 10 megawatts of diesel generation. Typically that generation is set so that it only turns on when we're requested by Missouri River or SPP and WAPA from that standpoint as well too. And that will go on hopefully before we get into really dire conditions as well too. So and that's really why we built that gen plant back in 2010, 2011 timeframe as well too. And then you get into the Energy Emergency Alert 3. This is where we were in 2021, where we had rolling blackout occur in Moorhead. This is basically them trying to make sure the system is stabilized, that they don't have a catastrophic failure or a complete blackout of the area or the grid. Then really it goes into a restoration event, and this is where they're trying to bring the system back to normal, or everything's gone back down to normal operating procedures, so they would call it a restoration event at that point as well too. So what does that mean? So really we've simplified it. Missouri River's kind of worked on this with the membership as well too, and they've got 3 situations: normal, alert, and emergency. So really, even through the EEA 1 level, we'd still be in normal conditions. When we get into the alert, that would really typically equate to the EEA 2 concern. So that's where we're going to be sending out notifications. Kind of laid that out here. Notifications on when rolling blackouts or system outages may commence. That would be to the commission, of course. Oh, I think I went too fast here, or I missed something. Oh. So typically in the alerts, we'd send out notifications appealing to reduce energy usage, sending notifications to, of course, the commissioners and probably other public officials as well, just to make sure they're aware of what's going on. But really, at this point in time, we're doing load management. Our generation is on, and we're just asking for people to limit their power usage as much as possible until we can get into a better situation. I'm going to go to this one because they're a little messed up. Energy emergency, this is where we could have rolling blackouts again, and where we did in 2021. How those work. Again, this is related to EEA level 3. Again, that's where communication would go out to the commissioners, notifying them of the blackouts or potential rolling blackouts. Again, communication with the city manager, let him delegate and start communicating that way. We'd also communicate to the school districts like we did in 21, just to let them know what was going on. And then we'd also communicate to our large industrial customers. Due to some of their processes, they'd have to, if they can shut it down in a timely fashion, minimizes some of their downtime and cleanup that they would have is going on as well too. Then of course we would also send out communication to the public as well, where those outages are going to be occurring, how long they're going to be. Typically they run about 30 minutes. There has been a lot of changes since 2021 in regards to this. They're trying to do a more surgical approach where you shut off feeders instead of entire substations. Along with that, we've got some relay settings in 2 of our substations for under frequency load shedding, which typically doesn't require us to go through the system rolling blackouts. However, that could cause you just to go off and not be able to come back on. But again, that's going to be because of a more catastrophic, larger system event that's going on. So typically if your frequency or your hertz gets below 58.9, then it would trip out those breakers, and we would see roughly 4 of the 5 substations in Moorhead be without power. So, but again, that's because there's a bigger problem that's impacting the system. So, but there are some surgical approaches they've been looking at. Pretty difficult to figure out how that works, and we're still working through that. But again, just wanted to remind you of what's going on with energy emergency alerts. Again, we'd be putting stuff on social media, sending out press releases, and working through that time frame until we can get back to normal working conditions. So, but overall, that's really the gist of the energy emergency alert. We got Matt on. Just wanted to kind of remind him of some of the things we deal with on a day-to-day basis. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes for the most part until it gets into a really hairy situation. So, but with that, that's the rest of my GM report.
Questions for Travis? That was pretty complete.
Try to as much as possible.
Do we have capacity to do an auto dial because like in 2021, what I heard was it would have been nice to know. Well, you can, is there do we have the capacity to do that, or would that have to go through another? We'd have to. I mean, how would that look? Would it be expensive?
Well, so to talk about the situation in 2021, we really had 30 minutes. I mean, that was the notification time we had to get from start to rolling blackouts. So again, nothing was prepared at that point in time, so we were really flying by the seat of our pants. We do have auto dial. Mark, I don't know if that's even. I know we've communicated with the city of Moorhead as well of using in those situations, using their notification system to get things out. From an auto dial standpoint, I'm not sure if it would be, nope. 10 calls per minute. So be very, very difficult, especially with the time frame that we've got to enact pretty
No, it's in a perfect world it would work, but
yes.
It's not a perfect world, right?
No, and typically when you get into those situations, it's pretty hairy. So again, a lot of that, there was a lot of things going on in the central part of the United States. We had wells freezing up for natural gas. The wind wasn't blowing. Sun really wasn't shining. It was also -20 in a major part of the United States. So it was just very, very difficult situation to roll through. And we did see some of that again in, like I said, in December of right before Christmas, and it was interesting. So
No,
it was quick too, which was weird because it was like 20 minutes and we were back to normal, or a half hour and we
Right.
were back to normal. So they just
Yep.
saw something weird going on in the system. So, but yeah,
that was just a thought.
Oh.
I didn't know what capacity we had, so 10 calls of. Well, those 300 customers would be happy.
not the other 15 plus thousand.
Yeah, right.
So,
Any other questions? I entertain a motion to approve the general manager's report.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Then it would be a roll call vote. Gilbertson,
Aye.
McDougal,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, item number 11, award bid for construction of Moorhead DOE tap station, substation.
yep, I am going to have Taylor Holt, our project engineer, come up. He's going to speak to the award bid and where we're at with that. Taylor, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Commission. Taylor Holt, project engineer. This awarding of the bid is to hire a general contractor to perform a couple of construction projects down at the DOE substation that we've been awarding material bids to over the last year or so. One of the projects is replacing a damaged transformer. The damage occurred via lightning back in June of 2021. And then while we were working on that, we were also provided with a notice to construct an expansion on to the west end of the substation. That'll include a few new breakers and a couple reactors that help the greater transmission system maintain proper voltage. We received one qualified bid for this project, which partially explains the large price coming in much higher than the engineering estimate, but unfortunately we weren't able to compare it with any other competing bids, but it's definitely consistent with price increases that we're seeing across the board on everything else we've been receiving. Along with that, we're going through the contract negotiations right now, hoping that this gets awarded by the commission and the city council in consecutive meetings here. Outside that, are there any questions that any of the commissioners may have at the moment?
Go ahead, Mr. Gilbertson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So obviously, it's an emergency situation with the lightning.
Yes.
Is that normal? I would have thought that you normally would have to have more than one qualifying bid to.
Going through the state of Minnesota bidding processes, we went through the formal bidding process, and we aren't necessarily in control of how many bidders we receive. We did receive an additional bid, but it wasn't considered qualifying.
What was the total price in the non-qualifying bid?
We weren't allowed to look at that based on
Basically, yeah, basically it didn't have a bid bond, so we can't read the bid at that point in time. We have to reject it.
yeah, so we weren't allowed to open it, and we sent it back. That was via recommendation from City Attorney John Shockley.
What was the engineer's estimate?
The engineer's estimate was $9,142,780, and that's been adjusted with the prices that come in for the materials that have been awarded up to this point. And also that's for, that's including both of the projects combined.
About 33% over.
In the agenda item, I calculated 40% higher.
Wow.
That has a 15% increase to the total cost of the project. Please note that this, at least the expansion of the substation, that is reimbursable through SPP, our transmission provider. And the part of the cost for the transformer replacement is covered under our emergency insurance. So it's not like it's coming straight out of our coffers for all of this.
Still hard to swallow a 40% increase.
Definitely.
Do we have an idea what's driving that increase?
Yeah, I can speak to most of this. I know, Taylor, I think you've talked to the engineers as well too, but again, supply chain is probably the key. Again, we're utilizing very similar materials to what it takes to construct EV chargers. Again, that's more from the perspective of a transformer. The shunt reactor probably as well too. That's really what the driver is you're seeing the same resources being needed for multiple different areas. Again, this is why we're seeing lead times of 200 weeks on transformers, just distribution residential transformers, compared to what used to take 20 weeks to get in. So that's a huge issue there as well too. So there's limited resources, limited natural resources, again, copper and all the other materials that are needed for it, steel. So that's probably the major cause of it. I would assume labor is another big piece of that as well too. Everybody's struggling to find people to work as well. So Taylor, I don't know what else you got to add to that.
I think inflation plays a big role and the low unemployment rate, but the biggest factor I'm seeing is the supply chain issues. It's that prospective bidders are afraid to submit bonds and commit to projects when they don't know if they're going to receive materials. And we've seen that over the since electric materials order the last year, maybe two. We're struggling to get bidders bonds, and those bidders bonds are required in order for us to open up bids.
The interesting part of the bidders bond is once that is awarded, then they go into a performance bond. So it's only for a short period that it's needed. They're just worried about not being able to complete the project in a timely fashion.
Interest rates don't help either, huh?
Any other questions for Taylor?
Well, this is maybe for Travis. What did we have budgeted this year? I'm assuming this would be a cash distribution, not a bonding situation, or are we bonding?
Yeah, so again, like Taylor said, the transformer repair or the replacement of the transformer, that's going to be covered under insurance. Minus we did put some funds in to cover the difference between the repair and a new transformer, because we will have to pay for that overage. From the reactor piece of that, again, that's going to be paid over a 10 to 15 year period through that ATRR, annual transmission revenue refund, I think is what it's called. In my next item, I keep forgetting it. So overall, there's not a huge impact. However, we will need to bond for the 24 million roughly because we'll have to pay for that up front, and then we'll get payments annually through SPP to cover those costs. And that's why there's really a minimal or no rate impact when it comes to this. So,
if I add to that as well, I did have a conversation with one of our representatives at Missouri River Energy Services last week, because I was preparing the item and it talked about the 10 to 15 year time frame. And the explanation I received in layman's terms was there is a certain point where the cost increases start to affect that, but it's not that we reach a cap on it. It's just that the reimbursement might take a little bit longer to finally reach a net of zero. So we will be reimbursed for the full cost of the project by SPP.
And it could be up to 15 years or as early as 10 years, is that?
It would be as early as 10 years if the costs stay low. I'm less optimistic that we'll reach it in that 10-year
Sure.
period now. So we're probably pushing the 15, and depending on how construction goes and as long as we don't run into any hazards or obstacles through it, we still have the capabilities of reaching it in that time. If it doesn't, it'll just stretch it out 16, 17 years without running any numbers. And I'm not
Did our
sure
consultant look at the the equipment prices on this bid and compare it to what they're also seeing maybe on other projects to see if they're in line?
I can't say specifically to this project, but I know the most recent one was the control panels project, and that came in, I think it was 30% higher than what the engineering estimate was. And the numbers that they used were based off of another client of theirs who orders the same thing every single year, which is similar to ours. And they compared it to the previous year's numbers and added like 25% to it, and it still came in much higher than that. So it's one of those across the board things where I'd love to explain it to you, but I think even economists are struggling with that right now. And projects continue to need to be done. That's the issue.
Sure. Okay, have we grilled Taylor enough? And I'd entertain a motion then.
I would move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Daley, seconded by Durand, to award the bid for construction at Moorhead DOE TAP substation. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Gilbertson,
Aye.
McDougal,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Durand,
Yes.
Daley,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Item number 12, transmission lines.
Sure. Again, this is related to the Moorhead DOE TAP substation project as well too. As part of this, WAPA, of course, is the owner of the 230 kV lines that come in and out of that substation. They have to do some work as part of this project as well too, and it's also included in the budget as well. But overall, they have to have an agreement before they really can do any of the work. We're still working through some of the nuances of the contract. There's some things that we would prefer WAPA handle, not MPS handle. Again, a lot of it at the end of the day is going to be WAPA doing it on behalf of Moorhead Public Service, and Moorhead Public Service is paying the cost for this. Some of it's environmental stuff. Again, some of it's procurement of equipment or construction of the transmission lines as well too. Again, this is also covered within that annual transmission revenue requirements. That's part of SPP. Again, we're asking for you to approve this agreement contingent upon final legal review as we work through those details, just because we're not going to have another meeting till the 21st, or not planning to have a meeting till the 21st of March. So we want to make sure if we can get this done and get everything agreed upon between WAPA and Moorhead Public Service, that we can get this signed and get them moving forward on their design stuff. We don't want to hold the project up because of an agreement as well too. So that's really the gist of this overall. Everything's kind of laid out in the agreement. Again, there's some minor nuances that we're trying to hash out to have somebody handle over us, or have WAPA handle instead of us.
Questions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Durand, seconded by McDougal, to approve the contract with WAPA. Any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none. Gilbertson,
Aye.
McDougal,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Durand,
Aye.
Daley,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Item 14, amended policy on residential meter relocation credit.
Sure. So as we'll have a couple of these policies for you to look at over the next couple of months as we're going through the AMI project. And really a lot of this comes down to, with the automated meter infrastructure project, we're going to have to be replacing meters, both water and electric. And there's going to be situations where we come into a home where there's going to be, the equipment or the meter won't fit into the existing electrical socket. So what we're asking you to do tonight is amend the policy to bring it up to current cost. And then from there, we'll be able to, at least if a customer wants to relocate their meter from inside their house, which we do still have some electric meters inside their house, they can put them outside their house They receive a benefit. We don't have to worry about getting access to the house anymore. Again, previously, I think it was like $200, I think is the bill credit that we were going to give. After working with some of our electrical staff, our electricians that we have on staff, kind of figured out what the average cost is going to be. Said, okay, the customer's going to get a benefit from this as they're going to get an updated meters or updated electrical service. The MPS also benefits from it as well too. So we're just asking you to approve it. Really, we would provide a bill credit if a customer relocates their meter service from inside their house to outside their house. Again, it's got to be, you got to have a state electrical inspector, a licensed electrician do the work, provide us the invoices, and then we'll approve it we'll pay up to $1,500, which is about, if it costs $3,000 to relocate the service, we would pay 50% of that to get some benefit out of it as well. Otherwise, you're just not going to see those customers wanting to move their services who has $3,000 sitting around. So that's the concern we have with it. We're trying to be somewhat customer friendly with this, giving them an opportunity. If they want to move it out, they can. We'll be bringing another one to deal with some of the damages that could occur during that. We'll bring that at the next meeting as well too. But overall, I think it's in good shape. We've had several staff members look at this and recommend you approve it.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Gilbertson?
What percentage of residents do you think this will affect? And what year is it? My house was built before X, and it's already outside, or?
Say that again?
So what percentage of the residents you think have an inside meter?
We do have the number. Mark, is it like a couple hundred? Yeah. 200 and 500. Now, if we go in and we can replace the meter without having to do anything, then we're good. But if it requires a service upgrade or relocating the meter outside, again, some of these are up in the rafters of their basement. If we just can't fit it in there because it's a different meter socket or an old meter socket, then it would have to get moved out. And this is kind of the preemptive plan, is if that comes into play where they've got to move it outside, we're providing them some type of funding to help with that. But probably late 50s, Mark? I don't know. It's probably in earlier.
We're talking under 500 out of 11,000?
About 15,000, yeah. So. Correct, if they haven't updated it already. They might have a meter socket that fits in there. So, we don't see this benefit getting taken, getting used a lot. Again, it was 200 before, so really it didn't really matter. At least this would make it a little bit more advantageous to do it.
Is that something you revisit if, 200, half of the 500 are minimal, and then you might have a little more money to get the ones that are 3,000? Like if you want to get to 100% compliance, is that something you look at down the road and say, hey, we only spent 20% of what we expected to spend, and you can maybe up that a little bit?
Yeah, that's something to look at. We can definitely look at it from that perspective as well too. Again, really, it's if they want it outside, it's going to adjust from time to time. As you can see, costs continue to go up, and we'll just have to look at that from that way. But it could become something where we have to do a little bit more with that, or get more people to do it. At the end of the day, it's going to make it more difficult to get it done. You're right, to get the AMI project done. So.
Any other questions? Do we have a ballpark figure how much this is going to cost? I mean, just given the odds that 50% of the people will, I can't do the math in my head, but don't have to, you don't have to. I just was.
We're not expecting a lot of them, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think we're probably I think we're thinking it's going to be maybe probably less than 50, maybe even less than 25 that we're really going to have a struggle with.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay,
but it also gets it outside the house. So
right.
this, again, this is a long-term policy. We've had this again since 1988. So we did it for when we had the AMR system. We did a lot with that, but it slowed off because we knew we were going to be going to AMI.
Thank you. Other question? Oh, okay. Entertain a motion then?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Gilbertson, seconded by McDougall to approve the amended policy. Discussion? Seeing none. Gilbertson.
Aye.
McDougall.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Haley. She says thumbs up, so, and,
There,
okay,
my microphone would go back on. Yes.
okay. Thompson, yes. All right. Memberships, item number 15.
Sure. This is the last agenda item for the night. Again, in 2022, we modified or amended our memberships policy. At that point in time, it was called affiliations policy. On an annual basis, I got to bring it back for the commission to approve the memberships for 2023. We're going to move this to December of every year going forward from here. But because we've got some membership requests coming in, asking for you guys to approve the list of memberships on Appendix A. We did also add 2 new memberships to that. With Mandy taking over as our records management coordinator, she asked if we could be included in this because of the information that they have connected to those memberships. Again, they've got webinars, they've got forms that they can utilize. There's discounted rates if you go to a conference, along with a lot of resource library stuff that can be utilized as well too. So, so Mandy requested that. We visited. I looked at the websites. They look like they're a couple of good memberships to have, and request you accept or approve the membership list with the addition of those 2.
Okay. Any
We did not,
questions?
I should say, we did not take anything off the list. So.
Okay. Good point. Any questions or concerns or? I entertain a motion then?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Paulson, seconded by McDougall to approve the memberships. Discussion? Seeing none. Gilbertson?
Aye.
McDougall?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, thank you. Closed meeting for executive session, not tonight. Upcoming meetings, you suggest we'll maybe only have one in March?
Correct. Not planning to have the meeting on the 7th, and then we'll have our meeting on the 21st.
Then, without further ado, let's entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your night. Drive safely.